Wake up sleep deprived, get stuck in traffic, 6 to 8 hours of school or work, get stuck in traffic again, argue with your parents or significant other, load up the YouTube, Instagram, porn, repeat for 60 years. This should scare the shit out of you. But this is how the majority of people live their lives. This is probably how you're on track to live your life too. Shit, some of you probably already live this life. And just like that, the days and the years will merge together and you'll die without even feeling like you ever really lived. You've got to start valuing your time on this earth. People say time is money, but it's so much more than that. Because what really is time? When you really think about it, George Max says this. What is time? Time is life. Time is just a unit of measurement of life. When you say 1 hour, you're saying 1 hour of life. So you just spent half an hour of life on an internet argument in a comment section with some guy you're never going to meet. You just spent 90 minutes of your life watching some TV show which you didn't even enjoy, and at the peak, most funny, most witty climax moment, maybe you did this. 90 minutes of your life. Time is so much more than money. If we put it in terms of money, the time you have on this earth is like you have hundreds of thousands or millions in the bank, and every second, every minute, every hour, whatever, a dollar gets taken out. Every second, every minute, a dollar gets taken out, and you can't stop it. It gets taken out no matter what. No matter what you do, it gets taken out, and you can never take it back. You can never earn another dollar. That's it. That's all you've got to live on. That's it. But the only thing you have control over is what you spend that dollar on, where every second, every minute gets taken out. What you spend that on, that's the only thing you can control. You would be so careful with how you spend that dollar. So careful, because you want to get the most out of this limited supply that you can never get back. You want to get the most out of it. You're not going to spend it on random bullshit. And yet, people don't treat their life, their time on this earth in the same way. You don't. Scrolling on fucking social media where you don't even enjoy it. You've already seen all the posts, but you don't even know why you're doing it. You're stuck on there. Watching porn, living in some fantasy. You're wasting these millions that you can never get back. You're wasting your time on this earth. So, what do you spend it on? Well, I wanted to introduce you to this concept of pleasure versus enjoyment. So pleasure comes when you get rewarded for a genetically programmed desire. So food, drink, sex. And these evolved to try and keep us alive, because when we went hunter-gatherer tribes, this is how we stayed alive. But enjoyment, on the other hand, this comes from when you're in a flow state, when you're so engrossed in a task, you literally lose yourself and the time flies by and you don't even realize. And the problem with pleasure is that it will never be enough. You know, you always feel like, okay, when I eat this bit of food, then I'll be full. And then you keep eating and you keep eating and you keep eating, because it's pleasure, that's what you're relying on. Because there's this thing called hedonic adaptation that we as humans have evolved. Because when you achieve a certain amount of pleasure, you might feel happy for a few minutes, for a few hours, maybe even a few days, but your happiness will always go back to normal, and then you always want more. You always want more. And this isn't necessarily a bad thing. But the problem comes when people start equating this pleasure with happiness. And they think, once I achieve this, then I'll be happy. Once I get this, once I jack off now, once I get this piece of sugary food, once I get this amount of money, then I'll be happy. But you won't, because you'll adapt. And then people get stuck on this hedonic treadmill. They keep chasing and chasing this happiness that will never come. They spend their lives chasing this pleasure, and it keeps getting away from them. Every time they get it, it dissolves in their hands, and they always want more. I think this is the only way to waste your life, is to spend it in pursuit of these pleasures that don't really mean anything, and they're never going to fulfill you anyway. Now, enjoyment comes when you're in a flow state. It's when you have a goal that you're pursuing, there are rules you have to play by. You encounter challenges and you have to develop skills to overcome them. You get constant feedback to see how you're doing. And the big one is a loss in self-consciousness. You don't think about what you're looking like. You don't think about what other people are thinking of you. All these negative thoughts disappear because you're focusing all of your psychic energy and attention into pursuing this one task. You don't have time for that. And then the big thing about a flow state is that it results in a growth in complexity. You develop skills, you become more complex in some way. And you might be thinking, this kind of sounds like a video game. And that's the truth. Video games have been modeled to try and create a flow state. That's why they're so enjoyable. That's why they're so addicting. But the problem with video games is that the growth and complexity that I talked about, that doesn't happen in the real world, that happens in the virtual world. So you're missing out on this massive benefit of being in a flow state. And if you just apply your love for video games to literally making your life a video game, because flow experiences feel like a video game, just apply it to life, then you'll get the growth and complexity, you'll get the rewards that you want as well in your real life. Now, the thing about flow state, you might be thinking, well, it sounds a bit boring, as goals, as rules. But this is literally the peak human experience. This is peak human happiness. Psychologists literally call it optimal experience. This is as good as it gets when you're actually in a flow state. Being in a flow state is the most happy that you can possibly feel. And the thing is, you've heard all these self-improvement YouTubers talk about instant gratification versus delayed gratification. When you focus on enjoyment, you can have both. Because in your present moment, this is the peak optimal experience. You're as happy as you can possibly be. But then you also get the growth and complexity, you develop skills, and you make progress, so your future will be better too. So I think this is how we should live our life. Fill your life with these flow-inducing experiences. So then when you die, you'll look back and you've achieved all the goals or the accomplishments or the achievements you wanted because you had that growth and complexity, you developed skills and all of this. But then you also didn't destroy your present in pursuit of it, because you're literally living the best present moment that a human could possibly live, because you're in this flow state almost constantly. I think this is how we should live as humans. Fill your life with these flow-inducing experiences to live your best present whilst also not neglecting the future and building a beautiful future for yourself too. So some examples of being in a flow state. I'm in a flow state right now, speaking to you. Like, I have no thoughts in my mind other than literally the words I'm saying and the words I'm about to say. Or sports as well. Sports and games have literally been designed to create a flow state. So I play football as well. That's a brilliant flow state, flow-inducing activity. But really, you can turn almost anything into a flow state when you apply the things I said. When you set a goal, you set rules, you set challenges that aren't too difficult, that induces anxiety, but aren't so easy that it's boring. Set that perfect point. Set challenges at your level. Try and find a way to constantly get feedback. Put as much of your attention and focus into it as you can, so you literally lose yourself, all these negative thoughts disappear. And then try and make sure that it results in growth in the real world, not in the virtual world. Find a way to increase your complexity in some way through this flow state. So I've been playing with this concept called infinite flow. And essentially, I've combined two ideas that I really like. So we've established that when you're in a flow state, this is the peak optimal experience. This is how happy a human can possibly be. It's the most enjoyable an experience can be for a person. And the goal is just a necessary part of getting into flow. You don't get into a flow state because you want to accomplish this goal. That might be part of it, but that's not the reason. It's really the other way around. You have a goal just so you can get into a flow state and you can experience flow, because that's how happy you can possibly be. So the goal is like just a necessary byproduct, something that you focus your attention towards. So we've established that achieving the goal isn't really important. It's more about the process. It's more about the enjoyment and the flow state that you experience. And then there's this other concept of infinite games or infinite goals from this author I like called Simon Sinek. And so a finite game is like, once you get this many points, once this much time passes, then you win. That's it. A finite goal would be, I want to make £100,000. And then once you make £100,000, once you make $100,000, that's it. You've achieved the goal. That's the end of the game. But that's not how life works. That's not how infinite goals work. And in an infinite game, you win when you start playing, and the only way you can lose is if you stop playing. And the aim of the game is to keep going for as long as you can. So if you set an infinite goal, a goal that's inherently unachievable, a goal that you can never achieve, then you'll constantly be in a flow state. Like we said, being in a flow state, it's not about achieving the goal anyway. The goal is just a means of getting into the flow state. So if you set a goal that you can never achieve, then you'll never leave the flow state. Or at least for the majority of your day, you're constantly in pursuit of this infinite goal. And that's how as happy as you can be as a person. So I think we should set a goal that is inherently unachievable in of itself. So basically seeing how far you can go, seeing how far you can push your potential. Because with a finite goal, if you say, I want to make 100k, and then you're chasing, right now you're in the flow state. But then once you reach it, that's it. That's it, you lose that flow state because you're not pursuing the goal anymore. You lose the most enjoyable part of your life. But if you set an infinite goal, as you make progress, you can never quite reach it. So you're just always in a flow state. You always enjoy your life. Now this might seem sad, this might seem tragic to some of you that you set this goal and it's your life's mission, you can never achieve it. But if you take the focus off the outcome, off the pleasure, and you put it onto the process, onto the enjoyment, then I think this is how we should live our life. This is how you avoid living a miserable life full of regrets.